What's up, everyone? Justin here. I got my boy Brady. We're back from San Diego where we watched the Derby. Back for another edition of EquinEdge Action Hour. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Justin, I'm doing pretty good, man. Good seeing you last week, and had a lot of fun handicapping the Derby card. Had a great party out at the Monarch and at Del Mar in San Diego, and they did a great job helping us host a party with 250 people, and we taught some more people about EquinEdge. And so it was altogether a win-win. I know that the Derby was a little bit of a surprise, but hey, that's why they run the race. And I think we even gave out the late pick 6, which was pretty cool. And so, yeah, happy to be back in Florida now for a week, and then just down here seeing some friends, and heading back up north on Sunday and getting ready for Preakness again. So it's like we just hit the reset button for a day and then get right back at it.
Dude, we were about a minute into the show and there was no comments, like zero comments. I'm like, where are all of you people? But yeah, hey, John, Garrison, Cindy, Adam, John, welcome. That was fun last week. And we gave out the pick 6. We gave out the pick 6 to everybody last week. You, me, Scotty did that, marathon. What was that? 3.5 hours of a Derby session. But that was a great time. We had a good Oak show, I felt, as well. Hey, oldie, how are you? There's my boy, Chris Paul. So many people have seen this. This guy hit $1 late pick 5 at Churchill Downs for 42 grand. 42 G's that he had. And he should comment. He sends me a text the other day. He's like, guess what? Guess you just called me. Churchill Downs called him to be like, hey, what's going on? Like, or Twin, I think it was Twin Spires. He'll have to comment, but major props to him. Like 42 grand. He posted it on Twitter. I know he's a great handicapper. I've known him for about a year, and he has learned so much so fast. And, you know, it's funny. I don't know if he'll admit this, but we were texting and he was so frustrated on Oaks Day. And I'm like, dude, just stick with it. And he came back and hit that. It was amazing.
That's awesome. It's really cool to see the viewers, you know, that watch the show, that interact with us on social media platforms like Twitter, hitting big tickets like this. I mean, this is what it's all about. You know, well, we like talking the races and showing people how to use the platform, but it's all about the viewers and the tickets that they hit. And I'll tell you what, we've got some pretty darn good handicappers in the chat. That's a fact.
I'm with you. We do. So welcome, Jeffrey, Chris, Vito, John, Oldie, Adam. We got a good crew here. So for viewers, we thought we would kind of talk a little Derby Day racing, cover the last 6 races. We'll talk about them quickly. And then we're going to cover kind of the late races at Belmont on Saturday. Looks like a great card. I hope the weather holds up, which I think will be fine either way. But I thought it was some tough racing. I don't know. What about you when you took a look?
Yeah, I thought it was too. I was actually handicapping the Belmont card while I was at Gulfstream Park today. So we went down to Palm Meadows this morning, hung out with Kent Sweezy, really cool guy, really cool young trainer. And then we went down to Gulfstream for the first 5 races. You know, why not? We're already there. So I was, doing a little Gulfstream today, put together a little pick 5, and then, handicap the Belmont card. And I'm like, wow, expecting like a little bit of a letdown after the Derby. But I'll tell you what, Naira's doing a great job with filling these fields. You know, you're getting 9 and 10 horse fields. You're getting stakes races. I mean, we've got a bunch of stakes races. We've got 5 of them on Saturday, 4 grade 3s, and then a grade 1 to finish off the finale. And so there's no time, to rest for the wicked, man. We got to get back at it. So, this is kind of the bridge to Pimlico is what I'm going to call this show. But yeah, Derby. You want to talk about the Derby races? Let's start with Gamine. How impressive was she? Coming off of a prep race, I was out at Santa Anita for that one, and that was just a paid workout hand ride for her. She comes back in this spot, which she really relishes 7 furlongs. And one thing I wanted to note with people is that look at her GSR for 7 furlongs. She's an 88 GSR, which was 13 points higher than any other horse in the field, and man, she showed it. And at the top of the stretch, she actually looked like she wasn't going to hang on. Irad was coming on her outside with the 2-horse Sconson, and I looked over to you, Justin, and I said, she's done. She's
I
beat.
know.
And then she just rebroke and said, this is mine to take. Nobody's beaten me today. And deservedly so, was 1-5. And so, I know that was a single for a lot of our viewers. I tried to beat her in a ticket, and I thought that maybe I was going to get lucky Wisconsin and it was worth a swing. But, I expect great things from Gamine, and watch out for her in that filly and mare sprint race coming to Breeders' Cup in November.
Yeah, she's going to have a great summer. And I remember we both were like, oh my gosh, is she not going to win this race? But she was game and fired back and ran a great one. Probably a little scary at 1-5, but still ran a great race. And if I remember correctly, she still won by a few lengths, like had rebroke and just ran great. So was a great start, obviously, in the pick six ticket. I mean, you can't complain when you hit a pick six. You really can't.
So let's go to the 7th. A little recap here was, another sprint, the grade 2 Pat Day Mile. This was an interesting one. We talked a lot about Jackie's Warrior, who ended up running, I felt like a great race, coming off the layoff. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. How game was Jackie's Warrior with as fast as they went for the opening quarter and then to the half mile, and then for that horse to hang on? The one thing we talked about in the show is that Jackie's Warrior loves going one turn. And so, a lot of people are saying, Asmussen horses, they're sprinters, they're going 6 furlongs, maybe 6.5. No, it comes down to being a one-turn horse versus a two-turn horse. Okay, Jackie's Warrior tried a mile and a 16th twice, and the thing that we said is eliminate the last 2 efforts. It was the Southwest and it was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Both preps to try to get in the Derby, to try to get Derby points. Well, they realized that that's not what Jackie's Warrior was best at. They brought him back to what he was best at, and he really showed it and dug in last Saturday. I thought Dream Shake was dead game as well. My God, that horse was loaded coming on the outside, and Jackie was just able to hang on. I think the track was a little bit speed favoring, which was working in Jackie's Warrior's favor. And a lot of times on these big days, you have to really take that into consideration. We saw that at Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup with speed being, holding, and then also getting track records about every other race. And so, I singled Jackie's Warrior. I hope a lot of our viewers did. But Dream Shake was dead game. I was disappointed in Prevalence. What happened with him?
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't I didn't go back and watch the race here. I think I remember seeing some comments around just being rank and having a really rough trip, but I don't think there's any excuses there. Jackie's Warrior was so game. In this thing or angle around, one turn, 2 turns, horse may only want to sprint route around 2 turns, but maybe only wants to sprint 8 furlong sprint here. You look at Jackie's Warrior and, was a dead sprinter. It looks, from a GSR plus perspective that might have liked to route maybe, but when you look at this and you see the 78 and the 78 here, but when you actually look at the running lines in Handy View, we said toss them and came back, and we lost. You lose the potential race SOR once the race goes off. It removes it kind of from the software, but I'm guessing this comes back in high 70s or around 80 SOR. I don't remember what the expected was, but yeah, I don't know what happened to Prevalence. Not probably right for the division, I would guess. And Jackie's Warrior showed that he's going to be dangerous in the sprint division for 3-year-olds.
Watch out for maybe a Met Mile for Jackie's Warrior. I could see that being a target for him. And then who knows? I don't know what the Breeders' Cup Mile configuration is. I'm guessing that's going to be 2 turns. But, I look at Jackie's Warrior to dominate the 1 turn, 7 and 8 furlong races the rest of this year.
Yeah. Congrats, Steve. Sounds like Steve's going to the Preakness. Somehow won a trip to the Preakness, which is amazing. That's cool. And Mike asked where your EquinEdge hat is.
Oh my gosh, we were giving away so much swag at the event. I don't even think I got one. So I'll have to pick up one before
I grabbed one before we headed out the door. But congrats to Coach. That's amazing. Have fun at the Preakness. Let's go to the next. I think there is, Oldie's questioning the class of the Pat Day. I don't think this race is actually that weak. It may not get up there, but I don't think you can discount Jackie's Warrior running that quick
in a sprint like that. I don't think that these are a bunch of bums, but it'll be interesting how tough the class comes back here.
Let's go to the 9th, 8.5 on the turf, the American turf for 3-year-olds. We talked this up, right? We talked all about this in Baffert on the turf in this 5-horse potentially being all about it. And you got every bit to 5-1 on du jour. Lucky Law ran a great race. I think I hit the try in this race, which it ended up paying like almost $600, I think, if I remember right. Yeah, 652. I did hit the try here, which was nice. But we talked up the 5. This was a great race, though. What do you think here?
I'll tell you what, I got to give it to you and Scotty on this 5 because I was not on him, and you guys were very, very all over this 5-horse. I actually went all in this leg trying to catch a price. I was really hoping for the 12 Lucky Law or the 2 Win From Within, but Bob Baffert and Flavien Prat were just too good today. And Flavien, he showed up on Saturday, man. He gave some horses some really good rides. He didn't really do that on Friday. The West Coast jockeys kind of took a day off, it seemed like, and just deferred to the East Coast jockeys. But on Saturday, Flavien brought his best stuff. And this horse is great, man. Last couple of starts, won on the turf. And it's not usual that Bob Baffert runs a horse on the turf. Oftentimes that's a bad sign if you own a horse with Baffert and he sends you to the turf because he doesn't think you're good enough for the dirt, or he just flat out gets rid of your horse. So, the fact that Baffert's got an up-and-coming turf star just blows my mind even more. And so I'll defer to you and Scotty on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I remember looking here. I know that I don't, my notes here. Oh, yeah. So,
well, I didn't even have a note on the 5, so I can't really. I remember us talking about it, though, so I don't remember. But
ran a great race. Lucky Law, blew up
the exacta there. The exacta,
I know, paid monster too, $300 for $2. So that was a big one. All right, let's go to the
vulnerable
10th.
favorite. That's what I'll say about that race. Vulnerable favorite with Annex. And so, Annex got a perfect trip last time out at Gulfstream and barely got up by a nose. And so we were definitely trying to beat Annex there. And I think you and Scotty were even trying to beat Scarlet Sky, the 13 horse, which was the second favorite in the race. And so you beat the first 2 favorites with a Baffert. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and that's why this try and
exacta paid so big. Look at the dollar super paid $36,000. Wait till we see the super in the next race, though. That's where we almost fell out of our chair. But
let's go to the 10th because I want to talk about this, and we're going to talk about the super. So this was a crazy race for many reasons, right? Like, I mean, it was so crazy. I thought that Whitmore for sure had the race won with I don't know how much longer was left. Like, I thought for sure, and just absolutely stopped in the last few yards. And Flagstaff got up, Scotty was all over, and then didn't know what to do because the morning line didn't like Flagstaff at all. And then our 2 bombers, that one you talked about, the other one I talked about, hit the board for the superfecta. What are your thoughts here, other than that we should have bet the superfecta and we didn't? Because if we did, I would probably be on vacation right now and not working or something. I don't even know. But what do you think?
Whoever hit that superfecta had a life-changing score. For $1, it paid over $400,000. My gosh. I mean, that's why it's so important to bet these days. If you're going to, put your bankroll to something and you're betting, regular average Joe track on a Wednesday, make sure you press the big days, big pools. And so all of this was logical. The more and more that I look at the horse, the more and more I realize that I hit the all button here trying to catch Lexingtonian. And when I saw the Sisterson horse just flying at 46-1, I was about to fall out of my chair there because I had all in the pick 5. But then if we literally look at this race, how it actually ended up, it was pretty much a 2-horse race. It was with Flagstaff and Whitmore. Can you do the GSR tab from the top and just show everybody how everybody stacked up for this distance? And so I was hating on Whitmore. I got to be the first to admit it. I said Whitmore wants nothing to do with 7 furlongs. I wanted to beat the horse bad. But as we know, Whitmore has been around forever. He keeps on grinding, always shows up, always runs his race. That's what you can expect out of Whitmore. He doesn't win all that often, but man, is he a cash checker. He's like the ATM of horses. And then Flags, he is. Man, that's my new nickname for him. And then Flagstaff was just much the best. And I don't know if you guys saw it on Twitter, but on Saturday morning, I walked over to Del Mar in the morning, just to take a peek and everything, went to the OTB, and I turned out of the hotel, and there's this Flagstaff RV sitting right there in front of me. And so I tweeted out, if anybody saw that, it was a sign, and it definitely was. So I should have listened and singled, but I didn't. Let's talk about Lexingtonian, and let's talk about Hog Creek Hustle real quick. How about these guys? You got the other horses, Mind Control Basin and Tap It to Win, that I thought would all run big, that just didn't run a lick at all. Lexingtonian got a perfect trip. He made sense. And so when you think you can get a vulnerable favorite, which I thought Flagstaff and Whitmore were, it was worth taking a shot. And Lexingtonian wins when he's at a price. He doesn't win when he's the favorite all that often. He wins when he's being overlooked. Hog Creek Hustle the same way. He tripped out. And I really thought that Lannery gave him a good ride. And then I also thought that Gaff Leon did the best he could on Lexingtonian. I wish it would have went our way in that one, but at the end of the day, it's it is what it is with Flagstaff.
Yeah, I remember talking Hog Creek Hustle. I mean, 9%. The thing about Hog Creek Hustle, which again, horse for the course and horse for the distance. When you look at these numbers here, at 7 furlongs and Churchill Downs, that's where GSR may not come into as much play. But when you start looking at the money earned at the distance, I mean, that Hog Creek Hustle was for sure hitting the board. I mean, it's just crazy. And I know you, me, and Scotty were all kicking ourselves for not playing the superfecta here. And, it was hittable. And I mean, I remember seeing this, and this thing came back to 405,000, was crazy. I mean, this thing could have been hit for a few $100 probably, with having the 4 and 9 and then our 2 bombers being on the ticket. So, but was a great race. I thought this was, for me, on the day, other than the 13th race, was my favorite race because I hit the big exacta. But this was my favorite race of the day, kind of on the undercard of the Derby. It just was great. I for sure thought Whitmore was going to win and ended up just absolutely stopping there and getting past. But was a good one. All right, let's talk the Derby, and then we can.
We got the turf. We got
the turf, and then we'll talk to. Actually, this was a great race, right? I mean, it was such great racing. I mean, this was crazy, right? Like, it was fun to be with you live and watch this, and then sit there. But what do you think here on Colonel Liam?
Oh my gosh, I thought we were beat for sure. I was watching it right next to you and Scotty, and we're like, okay, Irads, he's pulling away. He's in the lead by like 3 or 4, and like in extending the lead. And then all of a sudden, I see 2 Klarovich horses, and all of a sudden, one's in behind traffic, and that's domestic spending. Flavian gets him out finally, and man, did he turn on the burners for a 6-month layoff. And I'm like, okay. I go, wire. I mean, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, even louder than Bafford's 3 kids that ran across the bar from us. I mean, I was jumping and screaming, and then I swore that we got beat. How did we get a dead heat there? That was a gift. And then I saw the photo the next day, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm thrilled with that. And normally I'd be mad about a dead heat, but I'll tell you what, cashing a ticket's a heck of a lot better than throwing one in the trash. And so domestic spending for me is much the better horse. And, Colonel Liam has a special place in my heart because of what happened in the Pegasus. But you got to remove your emotional attachments to horses when you're handicapping them. It's so important. I mean, all of us have done that before. We find this horse and we latch onto him, and you play that horse every time at every distance at every level, and it's just not a good thing to get into. I felt like Colonel Liam really set up well for this race because of the Chads coming off of their long layoffs, and because of how the pace scenario that he could sit third behind Smooth Like Straight and just pounce at the top of the turn is exactly what he did. I want domestic spending going forward out of this race, and this is who I'm picking to win the Arlington Million if Chad's going to send him there. Can I call it the million if they're only paying out 600,000 this year? Because
that's what Oldie said. There sounds like they're coming from the race formerly known as the Arlington Million. So
yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, I've been hard on Flavian, but I've got to give him credit. I just never win when I play him, but he runs really, really well. And so, I want domestic spending going forward. Smooth Like Straight ran a great race, but I'll tell you what, these West Coast turf horses, when they come east like this, they're facing the big boys. And they're on a non-biased turf course, and a lot of the turf at certain tracks, like Santa Anita and Gulfstream, for like the last 4 months have just been so speed favoring that I think a lot of these horses get overplayed. But he ran well, and then Count Again finished up the superfecta, which I was able to hit with the dead heat. So I can't complain about that. Although I do feel like domestic spending, stole a few $1,000s out of my pocket at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we're going to talk Belmont here in a minute, and we have I think a superstar running at Belmont this Saturday. So, I when I look at domestic spending and see some of the races and then see who's running on Saturday, I'm excited, to be honest. But this was fun to watch, and I know Chris was, in retrospect, that was his single, or he might have been too deep. I don't think he had domestic spending, though. I can't remember. Actually, he singled Colonel Liam. So in retrospect, with that $42,000 pick 5, he was sweating even more than he even could have imagined, knowingly what was about to happen. And congrats, coach, hit the pick 6 2 times. I know some others did too. I saw that, where others changed up their ticket, which is awesome. I think what we're trying to do here is just talk through races and talk horses, and then let you all play the tickets, and you all can, this is all about the betting. And I know a lot of people played both Colonel Liam and domestic spending, and ended up hitting the pick 6 twice, which was cool. And, ended up cashing, $2,500+ So
That's awesome. All right, let's talk the Derby, and then we're going to jump over to Belmont
since we're already 20 minutes in.
I was so not, and in part of it is probably because I just didn't like these horses that
ran in the top. I was frustrated here because I thought that Medina Spirit just got this kind of easy lead, and these 4 horses literally just galloped around the track, and is actually what happened when you look at the running lines. And although I do not want to discount Medina Spirit, because in retrospect, I had thought about this horse and then got off of it. I know for me and you, we were sitting across the bar from Baffert's Son and all these, some of their posse. I actually thought that was really cool to see them win. It reminds me of when Storm the Court won with Brittany, and that was even better experience. But it's really cool to see when people have a very close connection, because you get so excited. And it was really cool to see that crew so excited when Medina won. What do you think here, though? What do you think about the Derby? I know we have Preakness coming. What do you think about Medina? What do you think about Mandaloon and some of the others?
Do I have to talk about this race, or can I pass? Oh my God! I mean, I played Medina on my pick 5 ticket, and I'm very thankful for that. And so it was kind of that get out of jail free card to play Baffert at 12-1, because I know a lot of people that probably lost sleep on Saturday night because they didn't have Bob Baffert on their ticket in the Kentucky Derby. And so I didn't want that to be me. So I ended up going 5 deep in this leg, and I had the 8 on there. So I'm not surprised one bit. This was Baffert's 3rd or 4th best horse again. This is 2 years in a row. So if we think about last year, we had Charlatan and Nadal, who were the 2 Bafferts that you were like world beaters. Okay. All of a sudden, injury, or, not going to make the gate. Okay, I guess I'll run Authentic, even though he doesn't look like he can get the distance, and he proved us all wrong there. So shame on us again this year for the 7th time if we didn't include Bob Baffert in our pick 5 ticket. This year's even worse.
MKT, I'm glad we talked about Medina, and I had him on one of my tickets, and I'm glad I did. That was a
horizontal. But yeah, I mean, are we going to learn? I mean, pay $26, 13-1. I'm glad we talked about him, and a lot of people I think already had him. But are we going to learn?
No, we're not. I don't think so, because we never change. And so I don't see this changing anytime soon. And he does it again this year as well. Life is Good ran like a 107 figure or whatever. That was huge figure, and was like the top of this class. He gets injured. Okay, that's all right. Bob's got concert tour. They've never faced each other. Medina Spirit was getting beat up by Life is Good and getting beat up by Rock Your World. Name a Derby horse in recent memory that's been able to lose 3 times entering the Kentucky Derby. I haven't looked anything up yet. I know Secretariat lost a couple times, but I don't know of many horses since I've been alive that have lost 3 races going into the Kentucky Derby and win the Derby gate to wire. Now, let's talk about that real quick, because Rock Your World was probably the most disappointing horse that was going to apply pressure to Medina Spirit. And if guys kind of saw the break from the gate, there was a photo, kind of an aerial shot of Joel Rosario, and he had his foot out of the iron in the left-hand side. And so he totally blew the brake, and the race was over for Rock Your World at that point in time. Johnny V realized that nobody was coming over from the side besides the 17-horse Soup and Sandwich. So he's like, well, they let me do this last year with Authentic, so I guess I'm going to do it again. Come on, jockeys. There's 18 other jockeys in this race, and nobody wanted to go and pressure Medina Spirit again. I mean, it blows my mind. And Justin, you brought up a great point. This was a merry-go-round race. This was a conveyor belt. Again, how many times do we see this where nobody was really running from the back? Okay, you had Mandaloon that was right off of Medina Spirit's flank, and I'll give it to Florent Giroux. That was one of the better rides that I've seen from him all year long. And that's not a knock on Flo. That's a compliment to Flo. That was a dead game ride, and I really, really liked the way he handled the horse there. And I thought Mandaloon was going to win the race at the top of the stretch. I really did. I thought he was going on by, and then we had Hot Rod Charlie getting into gear with Flavian, and then Luis was just pumping on Essential Quality. But none of those horses could get to Baffert. And like, how many times have we seen this story play out again? I mean, this horse was 15-1 morning line, 12-1 what he went off at. And, Baffert, usually we're thinking about these monsters that are winning at 2-5, 1-5. To get beat by Baffert at 12-1 has to just feel absolutely sick and disgusting. And I'm glad I'm not feeling that way. I'm lucky. But, I know a lot of people out there are, and we'll see what happens going forward out of this race. I mean, I heard that Cox is not sending Mandaloon or Essential Quality to the Preakness. If that's still correct.
I don't think Cato's going either.
No, I mean, Brad Cox is probably the most 3-year-olds that are in the Triple Crown possibilities, and I don't think he's sending any of them. I'd send Mandaloon to the Preakness, please. I'd bet that horse in the Preakness. But it looks like, I mean, I got to talk about Known Agenda real quick as well, because that was my favorite horse there, and I wish I would have gotten a better effort from Irad Ortiz. And I'm one of his biggest supporters. I love the way he rides. I love how he's aggressive. I mean, he just wins everything. But he outbroke the 5 horses to his outside. And that's one thing that we said on the show. We had the 5 cheapest horses to his outside. He outbroke all of them with the 1. And the 2 and the 3 actually broke out to the right to give him more space. There was no excuse to be shuffled back to third last. There was no excuse. And I knew his race was over after the first 10 gallops, when he just took back and said, I'm just going to sit, and then just got shuffled back as all the rest of the Derby field came over. That was disappointing for me, because I wanted to see an effort out of Known Agenda. I'm going to look to bet this horse back in the Belmont.
Yeah, I think with Known Agenda, I mean, and I spent some time looking at a few of these. The thing there is, I think he really shied off the rail. He'd never been on the rail. I don't know if he's going to get the distance at Belmont, but I think, and some viewers are commenting, I think, on what happened there. I think it comes down to, you have a 20-horse field, and these horses are too good and too professional and many in form that any type of mistake is going to absolutely just, it will, you don't have a shot. And so when you look at it, nobody came on, nobody really gained. I think there was 1 or 2 horses that actually did. If I look back at the running lines and I saw some comments, Midnight Bourbon did not get to the front like I totally thought would happen. Mike Smith just was passive and didn't do it. Like he obviously, I think, could have put more pressure and then decided to not, there was so much trouble there on the outside with Rock Your World, highly motivated. Essential Quality broke well, showed that he's a great horse, but as I thought was I think with him, he's been racing just month after month after month, and I personally think this horse needs a bit of a break, but we'll see. I do think when we look at the Preakness, and I have not looked at it, it's going to not be as big of a field, so I think that hopefully we see more, I would say, competitive race, just because I thought the Derby again was kind of Medina Spirit to the front and won. And, that I think could have been seen, the horses always showed being up by the front, and great for Baffert and John Velasquez. I mean, to be honest, but I think it's angles that you can find on some of these others for other races, so it'll be interesting.
Anything else before we leave the Derby?
Yeah. One more thing, and I'll leave the conversation out of it as a whole. But I had a drink with Johnny V, a Santa Anita Derby weekend, and long story short, he told me he needed to find his horse, and he found this horse. I'll leave it at that.
I love it. I mean, and I've loved Medina Spirit. I mean, I'm kicking myself that I didn't love him to win. But and it was Bob Baffert. In one of my best angles, right? 15-1 morning line, and EquinEdge had it at 9-1. You get 12-1. I mean, that's crazy. So, stuff happens. What are you going to do? All right, let's talk Saturday in Belmont, because I love this card. I really do. I think that we'll talk late pick 5. For view, I know you didn't look at this race, so we can skip this, and we're half an hour in, so we'll talk late pick 5. For viewers,
that's fine. That's fine. I just looked at it, so
okay,
we're good to go with race 6 if you want to.
Yeah, let's do it. And I think for viewers, we're gonna we'll just talk through the races. We can decide what we want to do from a ticket perspective here at the end, but let's talk through them. Grade 3 to start here. Mares 4 and up. This was, I thought, a very interesting race, because you have layoffs, you have horses that have been going much longer. What did you come up with by just looking at it real quick?
This is an awesome race. I'll tell you what, I'm glad that we've got Naira racing back. I love the New York circuit, especially Belmont and Saratoga. Once we're going to get to that later this summer, come July. But, Chad Brown's horses, Shug's horses, Pletcher's horses are all going up there. They're all ready to run again. And we're going to get some really good turf racing. And the thing that I really appreciate about Belmont Park is it usually is a pretty fair turf course. You don't see really a bias one way or the other. They really take a good care of it and do a really good job. I landed on 4 horses here that I want to take a peek at. And the first one being Lady Nene. This is the 3 horse that Castellano is going to be riding for Chad Brown. They gave her a shot in the Breeders' Cup Fillion Mare Turf. That was the one that Rushing Fall was running so well at the end that she just gets passed by the European horse. But, I feel like that the 3 deserved a shot. It's a long layoff since November, and so she's going on 6 months out. Didn't really do any running. But if you look, this is a grade 3. She ran in the Flower Bowl just 2 starts back. And so she ran against Civil Union and My Sister Nat, who I think is a little bit better of a Chad horse. If there's anybody to get a Chad horse, I say it time and time again on this show, it's Chad to get a horse ready between 60 and 180 days. I give Lady Nene a peek underneath. The horse that I really like on top is Civil Union. You got Joel Rosario riding for Shug McGahee, and they're coming out of the same race. Civil Union finished about, 5 or 6 places ahead of Lady Nene in the Breeders' Cup Fillion Mare Turf. This horse won the Flower Bowl. Shug's like, I'm going to put this horse on the shelf for a while. And get her ready probably for another Breeders' Cup run. And so I just felt like with who Civil Union has faced and what she's done against this competition, that she was going to be my top pick that towered over this field. But Harvey's Little Goyle is very interesting in this race. If we look at the win percentage, she's a 52 win percent. Okay,
dude, I saw this.
51.
This is crazy. I mean, I saw this as well.
Yeah, and then this horse, I remember when they were running this horse on the dirt. And so, one of the angles that we're going to look at here, is the GSR difference between the dirt and the turf. And it actually shows that this horse should be pretty good on the dirt. So you know what this horse reminds me of? A little bit of a Catholic Boy. If there was a Fillion Mare version of Catholic Boy, I think, Harvey's Little Goyle is kind of in that conversation. And so you're getting an 8-5 morning line, which obviously the morning line odds maker, has a very strong opinion on this Harvey's Little Goyle horse. I thought Civil Union would be the favorite, but I'm not going to get beat by this Harvey's horse. I think she's the real deal. And I think Bill Mott, once again, came out of the same race, finished 2 spots ahead of Civil Union out of American Pharoah. And so, this is a tough race. I could see people going too deep with the 1 and the 5, but I thought Lady Nene deserved a shot. And then Chad also has one more horse in here that Irad's going to be riding for Peter Brandt that's coming across the pond from Ireland, La Mista. And, you know what happens when Chad ships these Europeans over. A lot of times they can actually fire first time out across the pond. And so on a deep ticket, I would be looking at all of these 4 with pressing the opinion on Civil Union and Harvey's Little Goyle, maybe with a backup with the Chads. Chads are going to get bet still. So think about that.
Yeah, and all these people, we have racings picking up, right? Like all these tracks are picking up. There you got night racing at Churchill Downs, I think tonight. Do we have night race? No, maybe we don't. We have Lone Star tonight. Maybe Churchill's not.
Churchill was at night. It started at 5 p.m. and it actually just ended about 30 minutes ago. So nice. Night over here. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still, it's only 6:30 here. So yeah, that's good. But there's, it looks like Oldie's playing. So watch the chat, he's over at Lone Star, it looks like. But so I thought this race was really hard because, I'm like, what is happening here? Like, so we have the one horse coming off a layoff. She ran great in that Breeders' Cup race. Civil Union was in that same race. The only thing I will say here is Civil Union ended up, I believe, getting a really rough trip. So yeah, Civil Union ended up clipping heels with Harvey's Little Goyle, and around the churn probably lost at least a couple lengths and ran on really well. So I watched that race, and Lady Nene was also in that race, who had absolutely no speed and just did no running. And when you look at that from the perspective of, oops, I didn't mean to take off Lady Nene, but here, I don't know what happened there, was just well back and just didn't run. So, was in an outside post. So, I think that's interesting. The thing about, you have all these layoffs. So the one's coming off a layoff. The 2 is coming off a layoff from overseas. The 3 is coming off a layoff. The 5 is coming off a layoff. The only 2 horses that are not are the 2 absolute bombers here in the 4-horse Platinum Painter and Thankful, who, doesn't look like even wants to run on the turf. So I think this thing's wide open. I kind of landed with you a little bit on Civil Union, but in a ticket, I really struggled on a horizontal to spread. Do you like almost spreading here? Because I just think this race is wide open. I do give a little bit more to Civil Union just because on the EquinEdge morning line, the system really likes her. And she has run, some of these have only run longer, and I'm curious what's going to happen here. I do think the 4 is going to set an honest pace, and I think the 1's going to be right there. So I can see, the 5 picking up the pieces and or the 1 just sitting off the pace and winning. I think the 4 is just not classy enough here, would be my perspective. The 2, just, I don't know about the 2. I mean, you get Irad and Chad, but has just been facing a lot weaker from the perspective of, coming from overseas, if you trust the SOR. So we'll have to see. All right, let's go to the 7th. Grade 3 again, this time sprinting on the turf. What do you think here?
The 6 horse only cost me about 26 grand in the Pegasus contest that day. So I don't want to get beat by this Pacific Gale again. I think this horse is the real deal. So he's coming off a little bit of a layoff, about 6-7 weeks. So they're giving him some rest. Before that, it was about another 6 or 7 weeks and back-to-back wins. So I think what they're finding out is that this horse just needs a little bit more rest than other horses. A lot of times a trainer will run a horse back in 4 weeks. They give this horse about 7. And so that's a good sign for me that they've gone grade 2, they've gone grade 3, and now they're doing grade 3 again. And so they're just kind of keeping this horse at the level that this horse can win at. Nothing wrong with that. And so she's proven it now. John Kemmel's done a great job with this horse. Johnny V really jives with this one. And I think that's the difference maker here. Junior won on him last time out in the grade 3, but I really like Johnny on this horse. I like everything about it. I like the way that this horse trips out. I like the 3 outside horses though. If I'm gonna construct a ticket here, I'm going 5, 6, 7 is where I'm looking. And so let's talk about Honor Way really quick. This is a Chad Brown runner a Charlatan Baker runner that Jose Ortiz is going to be riding. And this horse has really done nothing wrong. And so its last start out, it went 5 wide into the turn against Paris Lights, who just ran back over Derby weekend. And so it didn't really have a running race or anything. But, I think Honor Way deserves every bit of a chance as she's actually beat Pacific Gale in the past. And so, she's got that at least on her record. I think she could take another step forward. I would pick Pacific Gale on top of On Her Way this time. But let's look at the top Scotty pick here, French Empire. This horse is impressive. This horse is for Brad Cox, 10-strike racing.
New Brad Cox too. Brad Cox just picked this horse up.
And Javier Castellano. And so if this horse is doing the damage that he was doing in another barn, he's stepping up in class. That's the only worry that I have here. And this horse is going to have to pass horses. It's not the typical Brad Cox horse that just goes to the lead and sends, or the horse that just sits just off of the flank. This horse is going to be sitting about third or fourth the entire way around, and is going to have to pass these great horses in Pacific Gale and On Her Way at the top of the stretch. And I just don't know how some of these horses will react if a horse like this gets passed around the turn. Let's say that Johnny moves early on Pacific Gale. Well, then French Empire might be in trouble if this horse doesn't like to get passed. So what were your thoughts here?
Yeah, it's funny. When I stumbled upon, all of a sudden, I'm like, what? Brad
Cox claimed this 6-year-old? This is crazy. And then I saw it was actually just a trainer switch. And just for viewers, the system I should have been just paying more attention. It'll tell you here, in red means, new trainer, and would have said claim by. So I should have just paid attention before having to dig in somewhere else. But I landed on Pacific Gale on top at first, but then all of a sudden I started falling in love with this 7 horse. The system loves this horse and in so many of the algorithms. The EquinEdge morning line is 2-1 versus 7-2 morning line. It's the top Scotty pick. The only thing about her is, well, before I go there, she was running lights out. And, if you're the trainer, I don't remember who it was before Brad Cox, I feel like my heart was kind of ripped out. And the only thing I guess would be, but this horse was running at Oaklawn and Turfway Park, and all of a sudden Brad Cox picks this horse up. So maybe it was something to do with going to New York or something. But she was running amazing.
And to your point, she is stepping up. She'd been running in 70 and 72s.
I think there's a question here on the distance. That would be my thing. I don't know. I don't know if she's going to get 6.5. I think, I like the 6. I also like the 5. Oldie, you're talking about the 2. I disagree with you here. I really do. From a pace perspective, I think that you are going to see additional pace that comes into this race. I don't think that, the 2 has to have the lead. If you look at the 1, I think you have the potential to potentially see some pace from Manny Franco, who's going to have to figure out what to do on the 1. And then there's another, the 6 horse is going to be close. I don't think that the 2 is just going to get an easy lead here. I also think the 2 is stepping up in class pretty big. Again, she needs the lead running in mid-60s. This is a classy group here. And so she's really going to have to improve here for Rob Albatross. So I personally think the 2 might be a little bit, I don't know. It's Scotty Longshot. So,
the 3 Oldie is interesting to me. I don't disagree with you. I think this is a very sneaky horse here. And Joel Rosario jumping aboard. Ran in Saratoga last year, second off the layoff. They, up at Laurel, and then they send her down to New York last year. Wins at Belmont in a 74 grade 3. Well, what race was that? Oh, that was this race here. That was this race last year. Oh, I see what's happening here. So I think the 3, when I look at this field, is a total player. And look at her. Sat off the pace, ended up winning by almost 2 lengths. I don't know who rode that day, but I think Victim of Love is completely live here with Joel Rosario. And it's the same angle that happened last year, and she's second off the layoff. So I like that, and Joel gets aboard. She's somewhat, I would say, not lightly raced, but, as a 5-year-old, 17 races, she's still got a lot in her, ran well here in a 70, and this is a 72. So for me, I like the 3 and I like the 7. That would be my top 2. I originally fell on the 6, but I got off the 6 a little bit.
I think you make a great point for the 3 there, and I was overlooking that horse, and you just convinced me that the 3 is definitely going to be a challenger in this race. And we know what Joel can do with horses that can get overlooked. He can give them a fantastic trip. And I mean, look at the company that this horse is. I mean, he ran in the Ballerina, just 2 back, and then another grade 3 that won 3 back going this distance. And so, we looked at the 3 horses on the outside. One of the horses to consider underneath that's actually going to be a decent price is the 3. I don't see the 3 being anything better than the 3rd or 4th favorite as well. I think that 5-1 price is going to even inch up a little higher.
And she's classy. And I love, in this case, I love the cutback because she's second off the layoff. She's cutting back a half furlong. She's going to sit right off this 2 horse. And I just think she's classier. And, when we talk about the 7 again, it's going to be interesting here. I do not think you can dismiss Top Scotty and Brad Cox here, and there's a lot of, you have the different, we've talked about this, right? And I'm glad that we, we'll get through this late pick 5 because we still have about 20 minutes, but there's so many different algorithms in play here. There's so many, and that's what we've talked about this a lot. This isn't just about the Scotty picks. Top win percent is Pacific Gill. Top Scotty is French Empire. We have conflicting there. The 3 is a 10%, 5-1 on the morning line. The morning line loves the 7. There's another algorithm. So as you piece these together and you try to break down the race, right? What happens, who's the classy? Well, the 3 is the class. The 3 is the top SOR. She's also the class, a little bit from a distance perspective. The 5 is super classy. You talked about her. I mean, look at her. She's hit the board in almost every race, has won 4 out of 8 at the distance and an average of a 71. Pacific Gale, on average, has been in toughest and has won once. And you could say in this case, she might be getting, she's competitive here. So this is going to be a great race. I really do think it is. And many of these races on Saturday are going to be very competitive. This is a great card. This might be the best card I've seen from Belmont yet, although I haven't been totally tuned into Belmont because everything else going on. But I've played some, and I love this late pick 5. I mean, it's crazy.
I agree, and it's a great transition to go into the Preakness week, maybe with a little bankroll building. Can we call it like that? I think the next race on the card here, race 9, is one of my favorites of the day. I mean, this race is loaded. Yeah.
Before we go here, Garrison, I mean, if we go back real quick, I mean, she's she's a 7-year-old mare, and so if you look at her races. She's also second off the layoff here, been running in 72s and 74s. I mean, I love mares like this. She's like, I'm not ready to go to the breeding yard yet. I mean, I'm not going to the farm. I still want to race. I mean, she is competitive. And I bet this girl has a ton of heart when looking at these races. I mean, and you got Jose Ortiz, who's going to be coming late probably. So I wouldn't put anything into her from an age perspective. She ran in a grade 3 and just missed in a 70 SOR at 7 furlongs here. She didn't get up. When you look, we're at 6.5 here. I don't know, but I personally think she could be dead game and definitely pick up the pieces here. She's run good at Belmont. I wouldn't dismiss her. I think, again, this is a competitive race between 3, 5, 6, and 7 for me. The only horses I didn't really love are the 1, 2, and 4. So let's move on to the 8th on the turf, Maiden Special. I thought this thing was so wide open. For me, I'm tossing favorites in this race, 100%. That's my perspective. Where'd you land?
This was a difficult race. We have 4 stakes races in the late pick 5, yet we have this Maiden Special weight we have 2 in the last pick 5. We have this Maiden Special weight going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf, just thrown in the middle here. Hey, guys, good luck. This was ridiculous. A lot of these horses are first-time starters. A few of these horses have ran and had many times to win and have failed. Some of these horses have run overseas, and now we're getting them over here in America for the first time. So we've got a little bit of everything. What I wanted to start with is, let's look at the one horse here. This is a WinStar Farm bred Brad Cox Junior Alvarado horse. I did not like the one. Okay. Did not like the 2. Did not like the 3. The 4 was a little intriguing today, and Tom Morley won at a price of 11-1, and Belmont can be his meat. When you see Luis Saez and Tom Morley team up, they've been winning at 50% of recent. And so the 4 was a standout to me that I wanted to include on my ticket in multi-race wagers and on top in a few. I really like, this horse is at a tonalist. You get Saez, who's been riding out of his mind recently. And, Morley is on the improvement. And I actually think it was a tweet from Chad Brown to Tom Morley that maybe got him motivated about some training and winning in New York. And so we see a lot of crap on Twitter every once in a while, but it's kind of good to see it between the trainers too. And so I thought the 4 was somebody I didn't want to get beat by. I don't really need to talk about the 5 because it's Chad and Peter and Irad. And so lost by a neck in his maiden special weight. And you had Camacho up, and so I think you're definitely getting a jockey upgrade by going to Ortiz here. And the horse was coming out of Tampa. And so, honestly, in previous years, I didn't think that Tampa was the place that Chad was sending a lot of his good horses, but he really didn't win hardly anything at Gulfstream this winter meet. But he was winning races at Tampa and running well with the jockey colony over there. And so I look for this 5 horse to take a step forward. I'm just not sure if that step forward is going to be good enough to beat the other horses that are going to be giving their peak efforts as well. I know you said you were going to toss some favorites. We've got to look at this 9 horse. And this 9 horse is 8-1, Flaming Road. He's ran a bunch of races over in Europe. And we get him over here for Clement, first time out of Kitten's Joy, should relish this turf course, and you get Joel Rosario. I'm very interested in this 9. And if we look at, kind of the surfaces that this horse has been running on, I mean, heavy, firm, heavy, good. But the firm over there in Europe is way different than the firm over here. So maybe one of the reasons why they sent this horse over, because it's a Kitten's Joy, would think it would like the American turf courses that are a little bit firmer. Their firm over there is like our good. And so I really, really liked the 9 here. And I don't think you can discount motion on the 8. I don't want to play this horse because I think he's going to take a lot of money. And like you said, we got to beat some favorites in here. And so, I look for Graham Motion to win a few races at Pimlico next weekend for Black Eyed Susan Day and Preakness Day. That's really where he shines, is at Pimlico. And, he's only winning at 10%. And in 2021, has he won a race yet this year?
Who's this? Who?
Graham Motion. Graham Motion.
I know. I don't know what's going on. But
he's ice cold. He's ice cold. And so I would prefer the 9 over any of these horses. The kind of elephant in the room is the 7 horse Infinite Potential. This is the Chad Klarovich and Castellano horse. I don't like it. I don't like the way that this horse has been working. And, you get in Castellano, and let's be honest, since he had COVID, he hasn't not been riding at the same level that he was pre-COVID, for him at least. And so I want to toss this 7 horse and just use the ones that I talked about.
Well, it's funny. I love the horses that you talked about outside of the favorites.
I love the 4 and 9 here to absolutely blow up the board. I don't have a ton to add other than I am curious on C Money, wearing the Nantucket red pants. Brady, do you know what that means?
It means he's ready for a photo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following now. So I love the 9 here. It's interesting. I did some extra work to convert meters to furlongs because I'm like, how long has this horse been running? And I did that.
last week at Churchill when that Brazilian horse blew up the board for like a $65 winner because I wanted to see how long it was running in South America because we put it in meters here. So, this is 10 to 11 furlongs. And I like the cutback. I like your angles on surface here in really getting a more, I think, a better surface on the turf. I like that they're cutting back from the perspective of she did not want to run. I don't think these distances, did show some speed a couple times as well, which I like to see. So I think this 9 is so live for Christopher Clement. I love your handicapping angles on the 4. I love the work pattern here on the 4. I'll be curious to see a work report once they come out. I haven't heard anything yet, but I always like to read what people have to say. I think Louis Saez on the 4 is so live. The 5, I don't love this Tampa race. I know she just missed. I just didn't like it. So that's why and I'm so not on this 8 horse for many reasons. I don't like the 6 and 7 because I don't necessarily know if they want the turf. And I think that there's huge potential here against them. The system likes them, though, as a win percent. So, and they're going to be prices. The morning line does not like them, though. So it's part of the reason. That's why I don't like the 8, too. 2 horse, Oldie, I totally agree with you. This horse looks to be working out of its mind. James Toner, Kendrick Carmouche on the turf. Ran well here at a massive price at Gulfstream Park. Now brings it back up to New York. And it's Scotty Longshot, second-time starter. Brady talked about the 1, Cindy. I thought the 1 was interesting here with Brad Cox on the turf, first-time starter, only because I didn't love some of these others. You have Alvarado, who I love on the turf. Like, I think the 1 could be interesting here. I don't know. It's hard to know. I'll be curious here to try to figure out from the work report. So a lot of different.
I just didn't like the GSR on the 1. That was my only real reservation.
So that's where I was going to go because we've talked about this before. So if you look at the 1 horse, low GSR in general, though, a very low GSR. So looks to be more bred for the dirt. And you can say some of the same stuff about the 7. So if you can find a reason to like the 7, low GSRs, it's not a well-bred horse from the system perspective when you look at the 8. But I don't like the 8 because I just don't love the 2 races and it hasn't been winning. For me, that's where I like to find an angle in the 1 or the 4 as first-time starters. The 9 has not been winning either, but the angle that I like is you ship from overseas, Christopher Clement coming off the layoff. I like the just consistent works you have here. You get Joel Rosario. I like that you get a better surface here in the U.S., even though I know people are talking potential rain at Belmont. I think it may be okay. We'll have to wait and see. And I like the shorter distance. Do something different here. So it'll be interesting. The only other thing, no, we covered him. I don't have anything else to add. Let's go to the 9th. Another grade 3. We're sprinting 9 furlongs. We are going 1 turn at 9 furlongs. I thought this race was very difficult because of that, because I tried to figure out, just like we talked with Jackie's Warrior, who wants to sprint here? Who wants to sprint 9 furlongs? Who wants to go 1 turn when I talk a sprint? We're not going 2 turns. What'd you come up with here?
I've got an interesting take on this race. And when I first looked at it, I wanted to hit the all button. And I was trying to convince myself not to because I don't want to give up that much ticket equity. We've talked about a few horses in every single leg so far. And so I definitely wanted to try to narrow down in at least one of these last couple of legs. And I can in race 10, but then something happened. I looked and like you said, it's a 9 furlong 1 turn race. Okay. This is something that we talk about on the show a lot, 1 turn versus 2 turns and jockeying for position. There is no speed in this race whatsoever. Besides the 4. This Wolfie's Dynaghost. What a name. This horse has not ran since November 14th at Aqueduct. The trainers Thomas Albertani you get Jose Ortiz, and he's coming off of a maiden victory over Weber, who ran big just a few weeks ago. And so I thought the 4 could be potentially on the lead and just getting, outrunning and outkicking a bunch of these other stalking and closing types. Now, I'm not going to single the 4, but hey, like all of a sudden he shows up in this spot, like something's up here. I wanted to look at the 2 Nova Rags. I think this horse is the class of the field, especially when we take a look at the SOR. 70 SOR for this horse. He ran in the Florida Derby, got beat by horses like Known Agenda, Soup and Sandwich, Greatest Honor. And so, the 2 here is the class. And so I'm definitely going to be using the 2 as well for Belmont. The horses that I kind of wanted to toss were risk taking. This horse has already tried 9 furlongs 3 times, has won on it twice, but in the Wood Memorial, didn't have that great of a start, was bet down to like 2-1, 5-2, and ran just about as good as Prevalence did. And so I thought that horse could maybe overcome that adversity, but it really didn't. And so this horse wins the Withers at Aqueduct. Now you're coming over to Belmont, and this horse did not like Belmont in his first start. So I'm against the 6 here. And I know that the 6 is the 7-5 morning line favorite, but I'm going to choose Nova Rags and Wolfie's Dynaghost over him. The one other horse I wanted to look at here was Overtook the 1. Let's look at the GSR on this one horse, 87. That's saying that this horse was bred to go 9 furlongs on the dirt. This is similar to like a Rock Your World number at 9 furlongs. Rock Your World was an 88 in the San Diego Derby going 9. And so this is Johnny V for Pletcher, Rapoli stable. Everything on the GSR algorithm points to this horse about winning 9 furlongs. And last time that this horse ran, he did lose to risk taking in the Withers, ran a good second, getting a jockey upgrade from Manny Franco to John Velasquez. And I do believe that they used to have the same jockey agent. But I really thought that the 1 as the Scotty Longshot was worth a look. You're going to get a nice price on it.
Yeah,
I thought the 4 was interesting too. Wolfie's Dynaghost. What a great name. I mean,
I would love to.
I would love to know how they. What do we have here? We have a Ghost Sapper over Dynair. I would love to know how they came up with his name. That's just awesome. I mean, maybe for that horse would just be a single. The thing about the 4, is. For me, I tried to figure out maybe here who's going to get the distance in from just a 1 churn perspective. I do think the 4 is a 1 churn horse. I tried to kind of look at GSR plus. I do think should get a good trip, 22%, so second or third on the win percent. Nova Rags, I don't know. It looks to be the class. I don't know really what to do with him. Does he want to route? Does he want to sprint? Like, he has sprinted well. So I can see the class perspective. I'm with you on the 6. I didn't love the 6. The 3 I thought was interesting. Somebody brought up the 3. Karina did. Looks to be tactical. I thought was interesting. I want to talk Overlook as well, but I thought was interesting. Ran really well at Gulfstream Park, in a, maiden special and just romped from the gate, and then didn't run in the Tampa Derby at all, but then came back at Keeneland and ran again and just romped, going 9 furlongs. So I think the question here is, right, I like that he won and just romped, kind of going away gate to wire at 8 furlongs at Gulfstream Park, because that's a 1 churn mile. And now we get a 1 churn 9 furlong here. So, and he did it as a maiden, and you get Saez here. So I thought that was interesting. The pace, I think, is interesting because I know you talked about the 4 maybe not having a lot of pace. I'm curious what happens with the 2, 3, 4. I really am. Like, are we going to see a bunch of speed here? Is Saez going to send the 3, and there's the 3 and the 4 going to go? What's going to happen with Nova Rags? I mean, I think that this will be interesting. I think that the 3 has a lot of potential here. I do think I love that broke his maiden 1 churn mile sprinting at Gulfstream Park. I mean, wasn't the slop, so I don't know, but ran, and then this was a route race. So I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. The 3 is interesting to me, though. The only other comment I have was on, I don't even know about this 5 horse. I mean, the thing here is like way lower SOR, hasn't even broke his maiden yet, and is now jumping in grade 3. Like the thing is here is this, to me, this does not look like a great grade 3 race. This horse is 5%. Like I don't know how he's now 1%. He's 30-1. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. If we talk about Overtook in a second, though, you talked about him. I love that 1 here. So this is, again, same angle as the 3. Overtook 1 here, going 8 furlongs at Aqueduct, then routes and runs good in the Withers. So, I think maybe a sprinter, has not, ran really well, broke his maiden, has a good GSR, ran well going 2 turns. So I don't know. I mean, this is a tough race. I'm with you, though, on the 4 being a potential kind of really sneaky horse. For me, I like the 1, 3, 4. I'm with you. I don't like the 6. I think the 2 is interesting. I mean, I get it. So I don't know.
Yeah, just looking at things, I think if the 4 runs back to that maiden effort, that's going to be good enough to win this race. I really do. And I think that the 4 is going to try to grab the lead from the 3. And if he's able to do that, there's a long stretch. There's a long back stretch. I mean, this back stretch is as long as it gets for 9 furlongs. I mean, the only other track that I know has this configuration is the Saudi Cup. And so, who else goes a mile and a 16th 1 turn? And, maybe that they didn't think Wolfie's Digest was going to want the Derby. Why didn't they put this horse in the Derby trail? If you're going to run him in a grade 3, Peter Pan, maybe they just never wanted to send this horse 2 turns. So this could be a great spot and a great excuse to run Wolfie's Dyna Ghost.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the 10th. We got 2 left.
11 furlongs on the turf, the Man of War Stakes. What do you think here? I love this race.
I absolutely love this race too. And I've been waiting to see Gufo run since, I believe, Del Mar last November when he ran against No Domestic Spending, Smooth Like Straight, and they had that blanket finish, and Mike Smith was trying to hold on, and Irad comes up on the outside and just swoops them all up like we're so used to seeing. Seeing Domestic Spending's effort last Saturday also gives me more confidence in Gufo and what he has in the tank. Here's my one concern with Gufo. He always flies in the stretch, but is he ever going to get there? Well, now he's finally going 11 furlongs. This horse, we've said from the beginning, wants and needs and will appreciate more distance. And so you get a rider in Rosario, who I believe is riding this horse for the first time. Let me double check that, because who better to take a horse back and then fly with him late than Joel Rosario? He has ridden this horse twice before, and the horse finished 3rd in his maiden and finished 1st over Unconquered Leah in his 3rd race ever. And so you get Rosario, who's going to take this horse to probably the back or second last, and is going to make 1 run in the stretch. And if there can be any kind of speed in this race, Gufo's going to close into it. Even if there's not speed in this race, I believe that Gufo has the most devastating turn of foot of any 3-year-old on the turf going route distance this year, even more than Domestic Spending, I believe. Now, I'm not saying that he's a better horse than Domestic Spending. I'm just saying that things have got to go Gufo's way. This is more like a Raging Bull type of horse than like a tactical horse. And so I can't wait to see this horse fly in the stretch, because he's going to be coming late. The other horse that I wanted to look at was this number 1, Sovereign. This is another Chad coming over to ride out of Galileo from Ireland. And things just kind of add up for this horse. Look at the competition that he's been facing. I mean, this horse came out of Aidan O'Brien's barn. And, this horse ran against Enable and finished 2nd and beat Japan. Need I say more? And so this horse on paper should absolutely romp. I mean, Enable. Anthony Van Dyke. Some of the horses that this horse has beat, over in Europe. This is the best of the best. This horse was racing in Group 1s. Racing the Irish Derby, the King George, has raced at Ascot, has raced, Epsom Derby. This is incredible. And so horse has been off since November of 2020. Chad takes another 6 months to get this horse ready. I think this horse can be an absolute monster.
It's interesting. And we talked a little about this last week. We have this new Lasix angle that's going to come into play on every stakes race. I don't remember, and you and I have not been around this game long enough. So maybe a viewer, this would be something I'd always ask Scotty. When's the last time we saw a horse of this caliber come from overseas to the U.S. to be shipped to the U.S. to now run in the U.S.? And maybe they're setting this horse up for a run for the Breeders' Cup or something. But it's like, well, why not stay overseas? I'm like, so is this an angle where they want to bring Sovereign over and just run without Lasix, and it's going to be something special now that others are going to have to run without Lasix? Like, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, why not? I mean, right?
I agree 100%. It's a great point on Lasix, and we talked a lot about that last week. And will it affect horses? Will it not? We talked about it with Fat Man, and Fat Man ended up running a great fifth. I mean, I hung out with Kent Sweezy today, and he was really proud of him. A great effort, dude. I think Fat Man's gonna have a good summer, but the Lasix thing is an issue. And in this race, it's gonna be, because Gufo has run with Lasix, Field Pass has run with Lasix, and has done well with Lasix. And pre-Lasix, I don't know. We'll see. Horse break is Maiden, but if we look at some of the others, I'm kind of over Channel Cat at this point. Too many tries, too many disappointments for me with Channel Cat. I just don't trust the horse, and all these second place and third place finishes. That's not going to cut it in this Grade 1. I'm sorry. And then Moon Over Miami is the horse coming out of Gulfstream, and as we know that the Gulfstream turf is very different. And last time that this horse ran at Belmont, he finished 6th by 7 lengths. And so I just don't think that this horse fits here. And, when it comes down to it, I'm going to pick the one on top. I think this might be a prep Grade 1 for Gufo, because I think everybody's running for second. So I'll be probably just playing a straight exacta here, 1 over the 8 personally.
So I love seeing Gufo here. I mean, I think I think Gufo's a superstar of the older division. I really do. I love him. I mean, I really do here. I think that Gufo is going to run amazing off the layoff, has shown that can run off the layoff last year at Gulfstream Park. I mean, broke his maiden without Lasix, routing down at Gulfstream. Won the Belmont Derby, flying, is the class. So the one's the class overseas. Gufo's the class here, I think, in this race. Field Pass is interesting. So, I'm going to have to figure out what to do here, because I get the angles on the one. I get who the one is faced. I think you ship over here has run without Lasix. The thing about this is no joke of a Grade 1. So Chad's coming off a layoff with Sovereign. Christopher Clement coming off the layoff with Gufo. Field Pass coming second off the bench. You get Luis Saez here, ran without Lasix last time out. Saez is going to try to wire this field at 11 furlongs. 100% going to try to happen. I totally view the pace of this race is going to go through Field Pass on the 7. And Saez, I bet, tries to wire the field. Saez rode him as a 2-year-old and rode well. And Saez gets back aboard here for Mike Maker on Field Pass. This is probably the most interesting Scotty Longshot, I would say, of the card, because everybody's going to be on Gufo and Sovereign. And I think Field Pass fits here from the perspective of you have 2 horses coming off the layoff and is now second off the layoff. The question for Field Pass is going to be the distance. But if Louis can walk the dog and just walks around the track here, you're not going to get a better rider to get to the front and walk the dog here and just try to go wire to wire and upset for a price. I bet you'll get every single bit of this system has a 5-to-1. So you're going to get like 5 to 6 to 1 here. So it will be interesting. Yeah, C-Money. So I saw that. I think it's questionable, though. So if you look, he has not got the lead in a lot of races. I think Sovereign has speed, though. So to be honest with you, that's where I'm going here. I'm a single Gufo because if Sovereign shows any type of speed and Field Pass and Sovereign are showing speed, Gufo's absolutely mowing these down. Best 4-year-old, I think, on the turf. So we'll see. It's first off the way off, though.
Let's make a little bet. You take Gufo, I'll take Sovereign, and loser buys the first round on Black Eyed Susan Day.
All right, it's down. I'm all over that. I like this. This is going to be good, and I want to see what Sovereign has to show. I really want to see here. I'm curious. I like this. I loved it. We're going to get an overseas shipper here that I think is going to be here all summer. They're not just going to ship in for Breeders' Cup, and I want to see what Chad has here in Sovereign. Like, I get it. I mean, been facing monsters over across the pond. So I have Gufo, you have Sovereign, and this is going to be awesome to watch Saturday.
Absolutely. And two things to close out with this race is that European horses typically break a lot slower than American horses do, especially in these route races. And so if you ever watch, Ascot or, wherever you're watching in Ireland or Europe, they don't show a whole lot of gate speed. And we've noticed that in the Breeders' Cup, particularly the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, where Glass Slippers finally won this year and broke the European drought of ever winning that race. And so European speed versus American speed can be two different things. And so I see Sovereign actually maybe sitting second or third and then trying to pounce around the far turn. Wanted to answer a question from one of our viewers, Alexis. She's asking about Lasix. And if that was the name of a horse. No, Lasix is not the name of a horse. It is actually a drug that is given to horses to prevent them from bleeding. And so what they're doing now for graded stakes races they're banning Lasix. And so we're seeing a lot of bleeders. And so there's a lot of controversy between the Lasix versus no Lasix thing, which we could do a 3-hour, maybe 5-hour show on. But to put it simply, there's some horses that just need it to not bleed. And so, it depends on where you're running. And I think you'll see a lot of horses drop out of graded stakes races and try to run at that high level allowance level if they can, if the trainer knows that they need Lasix.
Yeah, I'm pumped now. We're gonna see what happens here on Saturday. All right, let's close it up. The last race, main special on the turf.
I didn't get a handicap this whole race, but I think this whole sequence is so tough. I can't wait to play it.
Where'd you end up here?
This was a tough one for me, and especially to close out this sequence with another maiden special weight going 1 1/16 on the turf. And so I feel like we run the gauntlet with so many of these stakes races, and we get so excited, and then we get to the leg on how we're going to get paid. And so with these maidens, the first thing I'm looking at is what are the horses that actually have experience running in races like this? And the first one that I look at is the one, Miss Monty. This is a David Donk horse, and he hasn't really done much recently, but I typically like playing him on the New York circuit versus others. You get Johnny V, which is always a good sign. And if this horse runs anything close to his last race, I think he's going to be right there. And so this horse has already had 3 tries, and they keep him at the maiden special weight level. And, just got beat by a head 2 times back, got beat by a nose last time out. I think that this horse is a major player. The 2 horse is, in my opinion, probably going to be your favorite, I would think, over the other Ortiz in the 9-3 draft. And so this is, I think, the 3rd time in the sequence that Peter Brandt and Irad Ortiz Jr. are actually teaming up together. And so this horse lost by a nose last time out. It's the 2nd top Scotty choice. And I think that Irad is riding better than anybody in the country right now. However, one thing to be concerned about is look at the strength of race that this horse comes out of, a 44. And this same race SOR is a 58. And so I may or may not be talking myself out of this horse as I'm actually talking about the race, because now I'm seeing the same race SOR as a 58. This is a major step up in class for this horse, even though it's still a maiden special. He comes out of Tampa in a maiden special 22 to a maiden special 90. And so this horse is going to have to improve drastically now that I think about it more. And tell me your thoughts on the 2 there.
Yeah, I don't even. I looked at this and I'm like, what's happening here? Like, I don't love David Donk. David Donk looks interesting. On the 2, I think this race is so freaking wide open. So you have Irad and you have Chad, and I just don't, I get the SOR perspective. I think that she can improve those.
So I think the 2 is definitely a player. I don't love the price though. Like I just really don't. I mean, EquinEdge has her at 7-2. Morning Line Odds Maker has her at 5-2. That just tells me when I see that Irad Chad are getting the Irad Chad love on the morning line, and this horse is going to be every bit of probably 2-1 or 5-2, and I don't like it at all for her at that price. Like she is every bit vulnerable coming out of that 44 SOR. So that would be my perspective.
I agree with that. And so you've got another Chad in this race, which is the 6-horse Gabby Squared. And Castellano's up. This horse has 3 chances to win and couldn't even beat the 1 that finished second last time out. And so I really didn't like either Chad. And I think this is the second time in the sequence where we're tossing 2 Chad Brown horses, which is going to be great for the payout if we're right. The other 2 horses that I really wanted to consider was the number 7, the Belmont horse, and kind of my EquinEdge angle on this horse is he's about half of his morning line. And so he drops down from 12-1 down to 7-1 EE morning line. The horse is raced against others in this company as an SOR 50 and a 52. So if he takes a step forward, he can improve. He gets a jockey upgrade from Eric Ansel and Batista to Joel Rosario. And so I felt like this was one of those horses that Joel could just take out and maybe try to grab the lead and wire the field. I like it when Joel's on the lead or he's coming from last. I don't like Joel in between. The last horse that I looked at here was the 9, which is also the top Scotty pick. This is the Shug McGahee horse, and my angle with Shug McGahee horses is that they take a little bit more time to get to the winner's circle. Shug isn't a horse trainer that breaks maidens early on. He's a guy that takes his time, and Jose Ortiz has been riding a lot of horses for Shug the last couple of years. And I just think that this horse is finally ready to bust out for his peak effort and get his win here today. What did you think about the 9?
For my viewers from, I don't know where Jorge and Sarah Jesus are from, but I do not know Espanol well enough to read what you're saying. I need YouTube to translate, so apologies there. But I'm glad you guys joined us. If anybody can interpret, I'm more than happy to answer their questions. I thought the 9 was interesting with Jose and Shug. I mean, been running in 50 and 52, likes the distance. I like that, hasn't been winning, but I look at this race and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this to me seems like it's easier here. I mean, I guess the 2 can improve, but I like the 9. It's top Scotty pick. It's better, 3-4-1 morning line. You caught the 7 from the morning line perspective as well. Joel jumps on here. The thing about the 7 here is this is just not a well-bred GSR horse. But if this horse is going to win, it's going to win routing on the turf. It may not win at this level, but it might. And you're going to get good value here on the 7 before it looks to be working really nicely. And then again, in a race that looks to be vulnerable favorite in the 2, the 7 with Joel could blow up the board and did run well, right, in a main special at Tampa, just like the 2 did, and then didn't like the slop. Now they put it on the turf. And again, just not a well-bred horse from a GSR perspective. But I think that the 9 is interesting. I really do, because has been racing and facing tougher and just missed. Looks to maybe even had a little bit of trouble in some races, been wide. Maybe can work out a better trip here. The 4 Wow was interesting. Eric Kinsell for Henning. I mean, has been racing a bunch and looks to, be racing in some good races at Aqueduct. But this thing is so wide open, I mean, the whole late pick 5, pick 6, I felt like was wide open. This thing is going to pay, I feel like. What else? Anything else here in the 11th?
I think that's all I wanted. Let's beat the chalk. That's
right?
how we get paid in this game. If you can beat Chad in the chalk at Belmont, man, you're going to get some stacks. And so let's build some bankroll for Preakness weekend. And Can we tell the people what's happening next weekend? Where we're going to be doing the show from, or should we leave it a surprise?
No, let's do it. I mean, that's the plan. Hopefully we can figure it out. So you break the news. I am so friggin' excited. But yeah, why don't you tell them?
Yeah, we're going to the Preakness Stakes. We'll be there for Black Eyed Susan and the Preakness, and we'll be actually going live on either Friday or Saturday. We'll get the news out and everything. Do a little preview show just like we did last week, and go over the whole entire card and maybe some pick 5 or pick 6 we'll key on and have a great time with it. This will be my first time there.
Yeah, I am so excited. So I'm flying. I don't land until like just after midnight. I guess Friday morning. So I fly out Thursday, and my flight takes forever to get there. I couldn't take the direct flight from Seattle to get into Baltimore just mainly because it does not fly at a good time. So I'm going to have to connect, and I'm actually going to connect through Charlotte just based on time and flight distance. It was either Charlotte, Chicago, or Dallas, and I think Atlanta was an option too. So I don't get in until late, but I'm going to be ready for Friday. I can't wait. Friday, Saturday, we're going to, I think that's the plan. Like, we're going to figure out how to do a live show from the Preakness, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. What else? Anything else on Belmont? Well, let's do pick 5 real quick. I think the sequence is so friggin' hard. So let's go to the 4th, because we're gonna only play, like, the system wants to take 4 horses, but we're only taking the 1 and 7, or the 1 and 8. I do think Field Pass is super interesting, but we can't do that, so we're gonna fix that. And then we talked about this in the first race. We talked about Pacific Yale French Empire in Victim of Love, that's who the system likes. Anything we want to change there? I mean, I like this from in the first leg, like in the 3, 6, 7.
Yeah, I like that too. We talked about the 5 just a little bit there. That's the Chad Brown horse, Honor Way, or excuse me, not the Chad Brown, the Baker horse, Honor Way. Mm-hmm. But you made a case for the 3 that trumped my case for the 5, and so I would like to go 3, 6, 7 there with you.
All right. I love some people were trying to interpret for us here. Yeah, so let's go to this was the main special, which these are I don't like either. I do not like the 8. I can see the 5. I had so many cases against these horses for others. I think we need some coverage here, and we're gonna have to figure out in the next leg how to go thin. What are we going to do here in race 7? What do you think? We like long shots here. We both landed on the same long shot. So we need the 4 and 9. Sorry to stop you, but we need the 4 and 9. The system likes the 5 and 8. What else?
Yeah, I think that I had the 9 probably on top here. I didn't want to use the 8. I did not want to use the 1.
We're tossing the 8 100%.
Yeah, let's toss the 8 100%. Look at the 5. The 5's that horse where, man, could we live with getting beat with him? His SOR makes sense. Finished second last time. I think we got to use the Peter Brandt horse for Chad there, the 5. And then the only other one was that I didn't like the other Chad as much, the 7. So I'm fine with leaving the 7 off. You want to go 1, 4, 5, 9?
Yeah, let's add the 1 because I think the 1's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, just look at that. The system then all of a sudden is like, whoa, we're spreading here. All right. There we go. And then in the next, it will let us go 4D. Oh, hold on. It took away the 6. And Jeff, we're going to toss on our way. Like, she might beat us, but that's, I guess, what's going to happen. We're going to go with what the system tells us. And then 1, 4, 9. And then we're either going to get coverage here or coverage in the last because we're going to go too deep in the 10th. What do you think here? We know we need the 4. We know we need the 4.
We know we need the 2 and the 1. I did not like risk taking. I did not like the 5. I am the law. And then I was not a fan of Promise Keeper. Not as much as some other people I know.
So I think we need the 3.
So I think what we're going to have to do is I think we're going to have to go 4 deep here. And then we're going to go. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the last, we're going to have to go 2 deep.
So the system likes the 2 and 9, the 2
IRADs, or the two Ortizes, not the 2 IRADs. Could you imagine if we had 2 IRADs that rode? If we had,
well, we technically have like twins. They're just Irad and Jose.
We don't actually have 2 IRADs, but.
Yeah. So can there be a double inquiry on a race if we had 2 IRADs?
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe we just go. I mean, I think this race is wide open, but maybe I'm just thinking too much. And I like the 9, and the system likes the 2 and 9. So, I get we're only going 2 deep. So I think that's the ticket, unless we're going to toss one of them and add somebody else.
I like the 9 a lot here, not enough to single the 9. And so with the budget with $72, we have room to add another horse. And the 2 is majorly stepping up in class. So if there's any horse, or if there's any horseman that can take a horse from this level and step it up, it's Irad Ortiz Jr. If he runs his last race, he's not going to win this race. But, I was looking at some things earlier on some past races on the EquinEdge and seeing Irad just do things that other people can't with horses. And so if you had to make me pick another horse to add in this leg, I mean, who's the 2 going to lose to? Is the 2 going to lose to the 7? I was trying to make a case for the 7. We were trying to make a case for the 1, the David Donk horse, but, he's only a 10% trainer, and him and Johnny V only went at 9%. And so the numbers just don't add up, and I didn't like the Sisterson horse, the 3. So, yeah, let's take Ortiz. I could see this coming in 1-2 very easily now that the race is kind of materialized in my mind.
Well, and we just, one thing is ticket generator. And thanks, Oldie. Everybody hit, the thumbs up. We love that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We just made a couple tweaks here. I mean, first leg didn't add the 5. And I get it, Jeffrey. I really do. On Our Way, I think, has a shot. She's a warrior. But we made a couple tweaks. And system wants to put 2 and 9, the 2 Ortizes here. So, there's the ticket, $72, late pick 5.
Viewers, we talked a lot of other horses.
So I think you can definitely put together a different ticket structure here. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. A lot of times by the time I handicap this and we do a show, I feel like I have my ticket and I'm still like, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
And I want to play the $1 pick 6 on Saturday. I told Chris, my buddy, I said, I'm playing that $1 pick 6 at Belmont. And now I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to do that right now because I'm going to have to make some decisions.
Absolutely. And that's the fun of it. I have as much fun handicapping as I actually do watching the races. And so it should be a fun little Saturday to get ready for Preakness. I think I'm heading back to Gulfstream tomorrow morning. We're gonna do some things out there, watch a little training and maybe a race or 2 and call an early start to the weekend. But good luck to everybody out there. And we'll definitely be in touch throughout the week with letting you know when the shows are going to be next week when we find out and when we schedule them. And I think we might be trying to do the show from the suite at the Preakness. So that would be pretty cool.
All right, brother. I will. I'm going to get to see you twice in like less than 2 weeks. So I will see you in. Well, you'll have to stay up late next Thursday if I'm going to see you. I might not see you till Friday morning, but we need to figure out, like, to your point, what we're going to do a show next Thursday. So I might see you on the computer on Thursday, and then I'll see you Friday morning in person. So, and for viewers, definitely, we will be around next weekend. So I'm all for saying hello. We got to navigate that stuff, but whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever, anybody who's at Preakness, definitely let me know. It's a pleasure, brother. I always love doing this.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks again. Thanks to all the viewers. Thanks to EquinEdge and everybody that watched. Have a good evening, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good. See you soon.